Donald Trump attempted to hold a press conference yesterday to prove that he is fine. His big announcement that he teased was simply that he's moving the location of Space Force Command. It was pathetic and humiliating. But absolutely hilariously, Donald Trump's attempts to prove that he's fine were undercut by the fact that he was, as usual, completely incoherent, endlessly bloodthirsty, limitlessly confused and disoriented during this thing. Now, one of my favorite moments was Peter Doocy from Fox News asks Trump about the swirling rumors about his health over the weekend. And he frames it as, when did you learn that you were dead? Now, of course, this is interesting because Trump claims that he didn't even know that that was going on, which I struggle to believe, but maybe it's true. But more importantly, Doocy has to exaggerate the story. Obviously, some were sort of jokingly speculating Trump's dead. But Trump has never been missing from the public eye for the 5 or 6 days that he was missing. And then he resurfaced looking sickly and sounding unwell. But he has to scale it up to make it sound silly. When did you learn that you were dead? Well, listen to how Donald Trump answered it.
Something completely different, but about a big viral social media trend over the weekend. How did you find out over the weekend that you were dead? You see that?
No.
People didn't see you for a couple days. 1.3 million user engagements as of Saturday morning about your demise.
Really? I didn't see that. You know, I have heard, it's sort of crazy, but last week I did numerous news conferences, all successful. They went very well, like this is going very well.
This one's going so well, guys.
And then I didn't do any for 2 days, and they said there must be something wrong with him.
Oh, so Trump did hear about it.
Biden wouldn't do him for months. You wouldn't see him. And nobody ever said there was ever anything wrong with him, and we know he wasn't in the greatest of shape. No, I heard that. I get reports. Now, you knew I did an interview that lasted for about an hour and a half with somebody, and everybody saw that was on one of your competitors.
Yeah. No idea what he's talking about, but Trump claims he didn't hear about the rumors. What do you believe? Do you think Trump had no idea that rumors were swirling, maybe not about his death, but about his health? Is he just playing it off, or is he serious? Has he really kept that isolated from the news? I don't know the answer. I want to hear from you. Trump then delivering an absolutely bloodthirsty rant about criminals. And this goes to this idea that many on the right have, that some people are just, they're born criminals. They are just genetically, implicitly criminal.
Criminals. These are hardcore criminals. You know, we took many people off the streets of Washington, D.C. They're hardcore. They're not going to be good. In 10 years, in 20 years, in 2 years, they're going to be criminals. They were born to be criminals, frankly. They were born to be criminals, and they're tough and mean, and they'll cut your throat, and they won't even think about it the next day. They won't even remember that they did it. And we're not going to have those people. Washington, D.C. is now a safe zone. It's a safe.
You know, this is the genetic determinants of crime idea. The idea that no matter what environment you're born into, no matter your economic circumstances, just some people have a genetic predisposition to be criminals. They are born criminals. Now, maybe I'm different from some on the left in that I think there's a question as to what degree does genetics influence predispositions or behaviors? Is it possible that the genetic aspect of an individual's makeup might predispose them to be quicker to violence, more disinhibited when it comes to the commission of a crime, more arrogant in the sense of believing you can get away with a crime? I'm completely open to that. But everything we know from the academic literature is that environment, socioeconomic status, in other words, social determinants, play an overwhelming role in who ultimately ends up being a criminal. Now, I know that some will say, well, David, if this was not a genetic thing, why are men so much more likely to be criminals than women? And I think that that's a very interesting question. But even there, much of it is about expectations societally placed on men and women. And if you look at other types of societies, non-Westernized societies, that distinction is significantly less relevant. So anyway, we're getting into a lot of sociological stuff, but Trump with this bloodthirsty rant. These are born criminals and we got to get them out of here. All right, Donald Trump seemingly confirming He will militarize the streets of Chicago. It's a question of when.
Your mind up on Chicago, though?
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when, we're going in. When you lose, look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing. I have an obligation. When we lose, when 20 people are killed over the last 2.5 weeks and 75 are shot with bullets. So let me tell you a little story about a place called D.C., District of Columbia.
All right. Anyway, I'm not going to play the full 3 minutes of ranting. Donald Trump says, we are going in to Chicago. Mayor Brandon Johnson says, no, you are not. Governor J.B. Pritzker says, no, you are not. And a judge who ruled on Trump's militarization in Los Angeles said it was against the law. So we may indeed be heading towards a pretty severe constitutional crisis here. Will there be consequences if there isn't some kind of a meeting soon between Russian President Putin and Ukrainian President Zelensky? Remember, Trump promised to end that war within a day of becoming president-elect, then move the goalposts endlessly. They've now been moved into the locker rooms. Trump says, oh yeah, very soon, folks, very soon there are going to be consequences.
Have you spoken with President Putin in the past week? Have you spoken with President Putin?
Yeah, I don't want to. I have learned things that will be very interesting. I think in the next few days you'll find out.
Will there be any consequences if there isn't some type of announcement of a meeting?
By the way, why is Pete Hegseth standing like that? Dear God.
With President Putin and President Zelensky?
Yeah, there will be. We're going to see what happens. We're going to see what they do and what happens. I'm watching it very closely. Last week, they lost 7,000, between the two countries, 7,313 soldiers, to be somewhat exact.
All right. So Trump says, yes, there will be consequences very, very soon. I do want to remind you that on July 28th, this is just the latest data point, right? I could do 100 of these. On July 28th, which is now about 5 weeks ago, Trump gave Russia 2 weeks to reach a peace deal. As you can imagine, we are beyond 2 weeks from 5 weeks ago. No consequences for Russia thus far. Donald Trump just making up numbers. He now says we've taken in $17 trillion in investment, which would be more than half of the American GDP. This is completely made up, like a dictator who expects no one will fact check him.
Because without the tariffs, this country is in serious, serious trouble. We've taken in almost $17 trillion of investment is coming in. Most of it is coming because of tariffs. And if for some reason somebody wanted to be politically correct, I actually think it's unpolitically correct.
Right. It's a matter of political correctness to just fabricate numbers. And finally, at his most condescending, at his most arrogant, at his most egomaniacal, we might say, Donald Trump claiming that he ended 7 wars, and if it weren't for him in the United States, the world would die.
Because without the United States, everything in the world would die. It's true. It's so powerful. It's so big. And I made it really big in the first 4 years. Then it started to degenerate with what this Biden administration did, but we built it up to a level that I never thought we could be at this quickly.
Right.
We're the hottest,
it got so good so quickly that nobody noticed.
We're the best financially. The money coming in is so big because of tariffs and other things, but because of tariffs. Tariff gets us even those other things. Plus it gets us great negotiators. I settled 7 wars.
Certainly a idiosyncratic understanding of the last 7 months, I guess I would say. So if the point of this press conference was to prove Trump's fine, he definitely proved that he's alive, but that's about as far as I can go. One of the easiest ways to make a good night even better is a great bottle of wine, not something random off the shelf like I would pick because I'm clueless, but something that feels a little more thoughtful, worth opening, and that's why I've consistently gotten wines from Naked Wines. Our sponsor, Naked Wines, works directly with over 90 independent winemakers around the world, so you get access to boutique bottles that would be way more money in stores. The prices are great. The quality is impressive. I like that I can customize the boxes. Do I want reds or whites or a mix? The last one I opened was a white from a winemaker I hadn't tried before. One of the best bottles I've had this year. Crisp. I love crisp. made with care. Check out Naked Wines. You can get 6 bottles for just $39.99, including shipping. Go to nakedwines.com/Pakman, click enter voucher, use code Pakman for both the code and the password. The link is in the description.